How is the actual race that you're running potentially causing your training gaps? Hi, everyone. I'm Coach Kyle of Freedom Running Club. And in this kind of part two of our ninth installment of our training gap series, we're going to be talking about how finding that right race is really kind of key in terms of your natural physiology, things that you can actually do in terms of, what you sign up for if you're a high school runner or an adult runner or whatever it is that you're in that situation. Obviously, if you just love a particular race, even if it's not necessarily 100% attuned for your physiology and you're not like with a school team or something like that, do what you want to do. Obviously, that's the beauty of being able to sign up for these races yourself. But if you're in a high school situation, a college situation, a team situation, and you're having difficulty, working with a coach who can really kind of see what your strengths are, not just from your workouts, seeing you run, analyze all these different things can really be invaluable. So in the first part of this, the kind of less common version of this, we were talking about one of our athletes named Frankie Godbold, who thought he was a 2-miler and became a fantastic 800-meter runner, ran 157 in his last couple of high school races and made it to the state meet. We're going to be talking about the little bit more common way that we see this with an athlete that we were able to work with from the same high school as Frankie. His name is Meriga. As I mentioned, this school, Wharton High School, where both these young men went to, they were never on the same team, but the same school itself here in Tampa really prized itself on its distance running, at least at the time they did. And then the 2-mile was kind of like that event that they really kind of thought very highly of in terms of everything. They've had really, really strong runners in the past. We've worked with kids there that are 9:16, I think is the fastest that we've worked with, who went to Wharton. And Alan is actually the second fastest 2-miler ever. He ended up getting to 9:30 in his 2-mile. But he moved from Ohio to Tampa and was looking for help when he came down here. When he was coming from Ohio, Fairview High School is where he went to. We've worked with some people in high schools in Ohio, and for whatever reason, they really love the 4x8. They seem to really like middle distance running in Ohio. So he came to us and he really was like, hey, I'm an 800-meter runner. I'm a middle distance runner. This is my key event. He came about halfway through. He started halfway through his cross country his junior year, transferring all those different things, his family moving, so he wasn't able to start the season. Had a really, really good first season in cross country. But, as we were kind of looking at it, we just could see in his longer workouts, his tempo runs, his long runs, he was perfectly fine just running for 90 minutes for at his easy pace and didn't seem at all taxed afterwards. His VO2 max sessions, his miles, his thousands, his 1200s, he was super efficient. He could pace them super, super well. He was really good on the second half of them, which is a really key indicator for pure distance runners. Do they get faster as the workouts go on, or do they kind of tire out more like a middle distance runner? He was just so strong at the end. And one of the things that he was really kind of known for was his last lap or two in his 2-mile. He could just chase people down because he could run very, very hard through the middle, but he always had something left in the tank because he had this really, this physiology that could just allow him to run at a high intensity for a very long period of time, characteristic of a 2-miler. So he had a really strong beginning of his senior year in cross country. He got into the 16 minutes, 16:45, I think was his best time. He was having some difficulty with some hip trouble, but things really got locked in for his senior year in track and field. And I'm really proud of this young man and everything that he did here. Alan, I said to him at one point going into his senior year that he was going to be a county champion, and he went to school in Hillsborough County. That's the county, again, where Tampa is. It's a very, very big county. It's known for its distance running. And to be a county champion here, conference champion is county champion in this area. And he really just told him, you're going to be a county champion. And he didn't necessarily believe me because of how much great distance running there is, but he absolutely was able to do that. He won his county championship in the 2-mile. I think he got third in the mile his senior year in track, and just became a very, very, very strong distance runner. His fastest time ever in the mile, which is obviously nothing to sneeze at, he ran 4:29. That was at districts his senior year, in which he was able to win districts that year. He won a district championship in both the mile and the 2-mile. He won the district championship, like I said, in that 2-mile. His fastest time ever, he was in the 9:30s at his district meet. And you could just see how confidently he's able to pace that 2-mile. Just locked in, go get him at the end. And Then he ended up running, like I said, his fastest time was at the regional meet the next week or 10 days later, something like that. He ran a 9:30, the second fastest time in Wharton's school history, qualified for the state meet. I believe he got third in the region with that time. Again, to tell you, it's a very strong region when it comes to distance running. And then at the state meet, he ran 9:31, so basically matched that fastest time ever at the state meet here in Florida in Class 4A, which is the biggest classification in Florida. And it really kind of came down to this idea that, obviously he was fast. He ran 4:29 in the mile. He was low twos in his 800, but it really kind of came down to like saying for Alan, hey, you run these workouts so strong, you don't tire out at the end. Let's try some of these longer races. He had never run a 2-mile before we suggested this to him. He had never done it when he was in Ohio. And so the first time he did it, it was a bit of a shock to him. His junior year, he did break 10 minutes. He was 9:56, I believe, to kind of show what you can kind of do in just a short period of time, basically a year and a half, 2 track seasons, half a cross country and a full cross country season. But it really kind of came down to, looking outside the box, not just saying, hey, this person is only a middle distance runner. Here's some things that suggest to us that he probably could be a distance runner. Again, just because you're good at something doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it. We're not saying that at all. But Alan's goal was to do things like run really fast, run some of the fastest times in his school history, make it to the state meet, which that's the first time he was ever able to do that in track and field. So really happy with the amount of work that Alan did, but also just like the trust to say, hey, I know you like the 800, let's try this 2-mile, and let's actually give our full effort in the 2-mile. Let's not just run it just because we're saying you might be good at it. And that was really important. He bought in, he ran super fast times, 9:30, obviously a really strong time, still got faster in his mile, running under 4:30 at 4:29 to win his district championship in the mile, was a county champion. Really proud of Alan, but again, it came down to just looking at, not penciling people into a box and saying this person's a middle distance runner. Can we explore some different things? Are there some things you're doing in your workouts that lead us to believe that you might be good in these different races? Let's try it. He bought in, he did it. 9:30 is obviously a really strong time. So that's the training gap for Alan, and how getting him into the right race really kind of helped him take off as a distance runner. If you have any questions about your own training gaps, we do give free assessments to people that maybe are wondering, am I running the right mileage? Is there a workout I'm missing or anything like that? In the link down below, you can fill that out. We can sit down for a session here, and we can look at everything you're doing, see what might be holding you back, and see if we can identify some of the training gaps for yourself.